everybody. This is Zach at it again. I'm your host, Zach Cooley, and I am honored and thrilled to be on the phone with Joey Simonton. He is the frontman and lead singer for Face Value, a tribute to Phil Collins, which is coming to Marion, Virginia, at the beautiful Lincoln Theater on October 10th, and my family and I couldn't be more excited to have front row seats to this show. Joey, thank you so much for being on the phone with me today.
Zach, thanks for inviting me, buddy. I'm looking forward to it and looking forward to the show.
Well, when I have been following, I don't know if it's your Face Value, but there's been a Face Value tribute out there. I guess it's been yours that I've been following for years. On the internet, and I kept thinking, well, they'll never be here. They'll never get to my little Mayberry town. And what did I see? But you're coming to the town next to me, just 25 miles away, and I feel like you showed up just for me. So
I did. I felt you talking about us somewhere. So I said I better get us over to Marion, closer to Zach.
Well, I feel like that's what happened because I saw that, and my wife has a heart condition, and she's a singer too, but she has a heart condition, and so she doesn't do. I like to go everywhere and absorb all the shows that I can get, and so does my daughter. She's just like me. So most of the shows that I go to and review, I have to get a friend or two to drive me there because obviously I don't, being wheelchair bound, I don't drive myself. But I said, would you want to go to this one? And she's like, yeah. So we just couldn't believe that there was a Phil Collins tribute artist coming to Marion. How did you find Marion, Virginia?
Man, I'll tell you what, Zach, a friend of mine who has a tribute band, an 80s tribute band called Spank the 80s.
Oh, yes.
He has played at the Lincoln Theater, and we started talking, probably last year, about different venues and stuff, and he recommended the Lincoln Theater that I reach out to them. So over the course of several months, we finally got a hold of each other and got this show put together and got it on the calendar. And so it was purely a recommendation from my friend Tom in Spanks the 80s, who was they've played there at least once or twice, I believe.
Yeah, well, it is a beautiful venue, a gorgeous theater that was built, I think, in 1929. So in my hometown of Whitfield, which is just 25 miles from Marion, we have the Millwall Theater, which is a vaudeville theater that's been restored. It was built in 1927. If Marion works out for you and you want to come back to Southwest Virginia, I would recommend getting in touch with Donnie Bales and getting to the Millwall also.
Okay. All right. I'll definitely check into that.
But both of those are fabulous venues and real treasures to Southwest Virginia. And as I was looking and searching your name, and I saw that you're from Nashville,
sure.
Well, you're based out of Nashville, but your native is just 2 hours away from me in Charleston, West Virginia. Been there many times for shows, and I just said, wow, this dude, it's kismet. This dude's a good old country boy like me, except he's got talent. So,
that's it, buddy.
except you have talent. I couldn't carry a tune in the bucket. So I went, and I have been a reviewer for 20 years. So when my wife sings and she asks for an honest opinion, I say, "Honey, I love you more than life itself, and we've been married 15 years, but I've been a critic for 20, so I'm gonna tell you the truth." But she's got a knockout voice, and she did a Tina Turner tribute
Oh, wow.
for the local festival here in town. Since you've been so kind to read all my links, I'll send you the link to her show too for you to check
Good.
her out.
Cool. Absolutely.
Because as I said, I was a critic first, and this girl's got pipes. And thank God, my daughter is going to sound like her instead of me. So that's very that's a huge thing. I've already given you in our initial meeting call. I have given you my Phil Collins story and how much he's meant to me over the years. I've written 2 books about going to see him live. There is nothing more that I would like than just to shake that man's hand and tell him what he's meant to me.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you the obvious question. First of all, have you ever met the guy himself?
Unfortunately, I have not, and unfortunately, I have not been to a live Genesis or Phil Collins show.
Oh my!
Isn't that crazy?
Oh my goodness! Well,
Yep.
I'm going.
I had a couple. I had a couple scheduled in the past, back in the late 2000s and early teens,
Mm-hmm.
and something came up where I couldn't make it, and I was like, "Oh man, I'll catch the next one." And unfortunately, the next one didn't come. So
It did not. It did not.
Yeah.
So, did you have? You said in early teens for Phil Collins. Did you have tickets to the Roseland Ballroom show?
No, I didn't. I
Okay.
had tickets. I think it was down in either Charleston or Columbia, South Carolina. Because I was going back and forth to Hilton Head quite a bit during that time. So I think it was down that. It might have been Atlanta. I can't remember. It was
Probably
somewhere down south.
I don't think he ever played South Carolina to my knowledge, but I know they did come to Atlanta on this last tour,
Yeah.
and then Charlotte. Genesis had never played Charlotte, and it was like bam, they came there just for us. So I think when God gives you those winks, thank God this was during the months of stimulus money, because I'll be honest, I blew it on. I didn't blow it because it was a memory of a lifetime, but I spent it on good seats for me and my baby to see Genesis.
There you go. Awesome.
And that was a bucket list moment to a really tough year, as it was for all of us. That was in 2021. But that's the obvious thing. So how did you come to be a Phil Collins tribute artist?
Well, before I moved to Nashville in 2001, I'd spent years playing in different bands back in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And my favorite time playing with big bands was, of course, the West Virginia State College Jazz Band back in the 90s. And a couple other bands that I got to play that had a full horn section. And, I grew up listening as a young drummer. I grew up listening to Buddy Rich and Blood, Sweat, and Tears in Chicago, and these horn bands that really, really moved me. So when I moved from West Virginia, I was playing in a 10, 12-piece horn band, variety band, and I just loved it. So when I got down here, my friend and I, who was also a tribute artist, he's down in Florida with the Johnny Cash tribute. He and I were talking about me moving to Nashville, and I said, "Man, I'm thinking about putting a big horn band together." He said, "Man, you need to do a Phil Collins tribute." I was like, "Man, that's something I was going to throw out to you." So my friend Rick was instrumental in helping me navigate some of the logistics in, how to approach venues and because he'd been through it before.
Right.
He's been doing this for 6 or 8 years by the time I got into it. So with a little push from him and just my love of Phil Collins and Genesis in general, I was like, man, I've got that kind of nasally voice. I can sound like Phil, and I'm bald too, but I'm probably 80 pounds heavier than Phil. He's a small guy, but as I started listening to the music and thinking about set lists and stuff, I was like, man, this stuff is in my range, and I love the music. So I knew being in Nashville, I would have my a big pool of just high-level quality musicians to choose from. So when I started reaching out to people, I got a really, really good positive response. And so it kind of started blossoming here about 4 years ago. And our first show was in July or June of 2022. And we've been doing it ever since and just having a blast.
And so happy that you're coming to Southwest Virginia, and I'm so glad that you mentioned the horn bands because of Phil Collins and his fabulous Earth, Wind, and Fire horn sections, and later the Vine Street horns. I fell in love with those bands that you're talking about, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and the Ides of March, and Spiral Staircase. I actually saw Blood, Sweat, and Tears at the Appalachian State University many years ago, and they were really good. And but I got really into horns because of Phil's music, and I think if you're going to have a Phil Collins band, and I have if you haven't checked these guys out, do check them out. They're out of Charlotte. It's a Genesis tribute band called Abacab, and they are phenomenal. I've actually become friends with those guys because they played at the Labor Day festival in Saltville a couple of years ago, and they were just unbelievable. And and doing reviews for them, I've become friends with that group, and they're an amazing group of guys. But to do a Phil Collins solo tribute, the most important thing you have to have, besides drums, obviously, is the horn section, in my opinion. And when I was looking at the clips, I was starting to tell you that I'm a full-blooded critic, but the real critic in the family is Bella, the 11-year-old, and so we were checking you out, we were looking up some videos, and I played about 10 seconds of a video, and she said, wow, that dude is good. And so you're already in with the Coolies. You don't have to worry about a thing.
That's good stuff right there.
I think it was Misunderstanding. We were listening to a clip of that, and she said that guy is good, and I just anybody who can sing like Phil Collins, I'm 100% in admiration and 100% jealous. So you got that. You got mad props for that. And the fact that you're a drummer too, I think is fantastic. I started playing drums.
Actually, I started singing probably when I was 3 or 4.
Right.
My mom was a singer, and then I started playing drums at probably 13 or 14. So, being already a singer, I didn't really think about, if it was difficult to sing and play drums at the same time. I just did it, some people can do it and some people can't.
Right.
And, one thing I wanted to do with this band was have as accurate a representation of Phil Collins' Genesis concert as possible. So,
but at the same time, we know you're not Phil. You're not
yep.
going. You know, we know that you're not Phil. You're not going to. You're not trying to sound. You're not trying to pantomime him. This is not Joey Simonton as Phil Collins. This is face value doing a tribute to Phil Collins, and I think,
So
and
we try to be as accurate as possible
right.
in our arrangements, and that's important, especially to
right.
people who really know that music.
Yeah.
And going back to the horns, one of the things that is imperative with a Phil Collins tribute is using live horns. And
yes.
There are a couple times, smaller venues and smaller budgets, where they prefer not to have the horns, and we track them. And it's still a fun show, but there's nothing like having a wall of sound from a legitimate horn section with you on stage playing that music.
Amen. Amen to that. And please, please tell me the horn section's coming with you to Marion.
Is what?
The horn section is coming with you to Marion, right?
They are coming with, yes.
Good.
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna shed a tear if you'd said no on that one.
About 80% of our shows were allowed or were able to take the horns, and even if it's a lower budget show, I'll crunch numbers and do the math.
Right.
So I try to take horns as much as possible.
Sacrifice it for the sake of the music, man. That's
absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's and they're a big part of the show. So
absolutely,
we definitely like to have them. And there are several other Phil Collins and Genesis tributes out there. You mentioned
Abacab,
and I've been following them for quite a while, and I definitely want to go see them. There are a couple others that more geared towards Phil Collins solo stuff,
right?
And there are only about two of us that consistently use live horns. So I want to keep that as part of our show as much as possible.
You bet, and I'm glad I'm getting one of them. I tell you,
and the dual drums, of course, is important. Now, one thing we do when I was looking for drummers, I had a guy, and then my ad was still out a day or two later, and this guy called and said, "Hey, I'm answering that drum ad." I was like, "Well, I've already got a drummer." He said, he was answering the keyboard player ad. So I said, "Man, I've already got a keyboard player." He said, "Well, if you need a drummer, I play drums too." I was like, "Man, I've got a drummer." So he said, "Okay, well, keep my number." Well, a couple weeks later, the drummer that I had chosen called me and said, "Hey, man, I can't do the gig. I'm going on tour with so-and-so." So I called this guy back, and then he proceeded to tell me, "Well, I'm a left-handed drummer. I'm a big Phil Collins Genesis fan. I've got a custom-made Gretsch single-headed white drum set made to the exact specifications." And then he sent me links to videos, and I was like, "Man, this is the dude."
Yeah.
So now we have two white single-headed tom Gretsch drum sets on stage, and that's a big fun part of the show. So I play on 2 or 3 songs, and we do a drum duet together.
Awesome.
Towards the end of the show, and it's big fun, man.
Now,
big fun.
Typically, because Bob Watkins Bob Watkins said to me, who's the manager of the Lincoln Theater, he said, "I didn't even know there was a Phil Collins tribute band out there." And I said, "Well, there aren't many, and the fact that we're getting one is the fact that you're getting one is really special." I tried to really play that up because it's very rare, and like you said, if there are Phil Collins tribute acts, there are very few that have the live horns. And
Yeah.
that's what I was going to say that I never got to, is that in addition to your talents, your band is fantastic.
Well, thank you. I think so too. I feel very blessed and honored to be surrounded by so many just world class musicians, and the amount of great subs I have. If I need a
Mm-hmm.
sub, for something, it's just amazing. I feel like the bottom rung on the totem pole when I'm on stage with all these fellows. It's amazing. The talent that they have is just literally world class.
Well, what little bit I have seen, I would say that you are right there with them. So do not sell yourself short. In addition to being, in the few talks we've had, a world class, top notch guy. So it's already been a great pleasure to get to know you. What little bit I have. So
Yeah, man, I appreciate that, buddy.
So I just think us good old country boys out there peddling Phil Collins. I think we all got to stick together. So
Yeah.
uh,
Well, when I was putting this thing together, I was going through just the massive catalog of songs that Phil Collins has is just something that I kind of forgot about.
Yes.
I'm trying to narrow this down to hour and a half, hour and 45-minute show, and I never got there. Our show with a 15-20 minute break is it's a good 2 hours and 30 or 40 minutes, and because there are still we do 24, 25 songs in our concert, and there are 24, 25 more that we want to do.
Exactly. Because let me tell you, when Phil Collins does a show, he does a show that's at least 2 hours.
Yeah.
And the guy is literally sitting in a chair now.
Right.
But he's sitting in a chair and he's cranking out 2.5 hours. His son plays drums for him, who's phenomenal, and Chester Thompson, who was his drummer for years, is in Nashville where you are. So
yes, yeah.
So I mean, you're in a spot with some world class musicians, and no doubt you have gathered some, and that leads me to my next question. Obviously, when you're playing a group that in these small towns that are kind of hit and miss as to whether you're going to sell a lot of tickets or not, you have to go pretty hit heavy so that people will recognize the music. I mean, that's obvious. However, I know by the way that we've already talked, you're going to have some deep cuts in there for us true blue Phil fans.
Oh yeah. Our like I said, the catalog is so big. We and my drummer and keyboard player are just super heavy Phil and older Genesis fans. So there are things that we want to do as musicians. Like Los Endos and Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, Musical Box, things like that. Supper's Ready, that are just would kind of scare probably 90% of the crowd because they're used to the hits that they grew up with on the radio, but they kind of forgot about even when Phil was with Brand X. Kugelblitz, I think, or Kugelblitz was one of my favorite, just out of this world, really progressive, really tough tunes, and people forget what a super talented and high level drummer Phil Collins was, especially in those older Genesis days.
Absolutely.
When he was playing all those odd times and that really progressive stuff. So most of the fans want to hear, the hits, and we do a lot of that. Land of Confusion and Another Day in Paradise is something that's really special to me and my wife, just because of the message. You know, you've got to do In the Air Tonight, and Only You Know and I Know, and Invisible Touch, and
Susudio.
You know, yeah. We usually close the show with Susudio, and you know, that really gets the crowd up, and we try to go out in the crowd and shake some hands while we're doing that one, and that's a fun tune to end the show with.
But there's some great ones that people forget about that were hits in the day that people forget about now. You know, Hanging Long Enough and I Missed Again.
Oh, yeah.
You know, those great horn tracks, and those, when I play Feel and Want to Be Pepped Up, you know, those are the tracks that I play.
Yeah, and we do both of those, and one we just added a month or so ago is Only You Know and I Know,
which is
another
a great one.
Yeah.
Which is a great song.
Yeah. So we try to keep the energy up. We do 3, maybe 4 slow songs, you know, but again, you know, those are great hits that people want to hear. So we've got a couple more on standby that we rotate in occasionally, but I want to keep it as horn heavy as possible.
Yes,
and that's kind of selfish of me, but
well, you're talking my talk, so
yeah.
I don't know how they're selling behind us, but you got 3 people in the front row that are going to be nuts. They'll have to hold.
Well, you know, if there are 3 in the crowd or 3,000, it doesn't affect our show and our enthusiasm. We're gonna play like it's our last show. So.
Well, it sounds like that you're playing everything that we want to hear. Cannot wait for that. And I noticed that you posted in a group that we're a part of. Are you aware of the national campaign? I have a friend that I've never met in Phoenix, Arizona, named Tracy Baker.
Yes.
And she has devoted her life and all of her spare time to getting Phil Collins where he should have been years ago, which is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And very proud to be a part of that campaigin. And
I've talked with Tracy a little bit about that too. So we follow each other, and she's doing a good job at getting that campaign out there and making it visible to people. So got my fingers crossed.
She's a good lady, and if anybody can do it, she can. And I am so grateful for this time. Is there anything else that you want to say that I've not allowed you to say?
Man, you know, Zach, I'm just I appreciate you reaching out, and I love your story, and I love that your daughter's going to be there, and I get to meet her, and it's just a pleasure to be able to connect and talk about what we're doing, and we love traveling to small towns. You know, I'm a motorcycle rider, so when I go on trips with my friends, we don't do the interstates. We go to the little back roads.
Oh, yes.
You know, I know southwestern Virginia quite a bit from, you know, going through there on my bike and different times with family and friends, and just really looking forward to going to visit you guys, and just looking at the pictures of the Lincoln Theater. What a magnificent venue
it is.
Like I said, if there are 3 people there or 3,000, it's going to be a great show, and we definitely would appreciate everybody coming out and bringing a friend with them.
Yeah, well, we can't wait. We absolutely cannot wait, and thank you so much for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Zach.
All right.
Okay, we'll see you soon, buddy.